Boy, 2021 has been a tough year for motorsports legends. Back in March, we learned of the passing of the lovely and talented Sabine Schmitz. Remember her? That story is coming up right after the break. Did you know that the average driver gets 9 traffic tickets in their lifetime? Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've taken maybe a couple of liberties with traffic laws back in the day. And of course, when I got caught, I had to go to court to fight the ticket, which was always a hassle. And each time that I lost my case, it meant big fines, points on my record, and higher insurance premiums. Eventually, I realized that nothing beats having a good attorney argue your case in court. So here's what you do. You download the Off the Record app to your phone and register for an account. And if you get a ticket, simply upload a photo of your ticket into the app and you will be quickly matched with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Your lawyer will start working your case right away, and in most cases, you'll never have to set foot in a courtroom. Off the Record has a 97% success rate and a 4.9 star rating on Google. And guess what? They even offer a money-back guarantee if they aren't able to reduce the points or keep that ticket fully off your record. Best of all, I've arranged a 10% discount for all of my YouTube viewers, so download the app and register using the referral code FASTLIFE to receive 10% off your first case. Sabine was a lady that you've seen in a video where she was racing a full-size Ford Transit diesel van around the Nürburgring on an episode of Top Gear against Jeremy Clarkson. Remember that? She was actually known for her role as a ring taxi driver. She would drive people around the Nürburgring in fast cars for a fee, and everybody loved it. She was actually a professional racing driver and had appeared and even hosted TV shows in Europe. Shows that included our beloved Top Gear with Clarkson, Hammond, and May, D-Motor on the D-Max TV channel in Germany, I believe it was, and even Fifth Gear. It was said that she had completed more than 20,000 laps around the Nürburgring in her lifetime. In March 2021, Sabine lost her 5-year battle with cancer and she passed away at the age of 51. The Nürburgring will never be the same, but her spirit will be forever a part of the track because in June 2021, it was announced that the first corner of the Nordschleife, a left-hander after turning off the Grand Prix circuit, will now be known as the Sabine Schmitz curve. We will miss you dearly, Sabine. And just this weekend, we learned of the passing of racing legend Bob Bondurant. His amazing career goes back to the 1940s, more than 5 decades ago, and it actually reads like a movie screenplay. A young Bob Bondurant started racing motorcycles in a tiny Midwest town in the 1940s. In the mid-1950s, though, Bob switched to cars. By 1961, he had already landed himself a paying gig racing Corvettes for a Santa Barbara Chevrolet dealer. In 1963, Bob was driving for Carroll Shelby. In 1964, Bob Bondurant and Don Gurney won the GT class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. From just starting racing to winning Le Mans in just 3 short years. Guy was a machine. In 1965, he won the FIA Manufacturers World Championship for Ford. In 1966, Bob served Hollywood as a technical advisor to the famous racing movie called Grand Prix, and he actually taught the star, a fellow by the name of James Garner, how to race. In 1967, he suffered serious injuries in a crash, and it was thought at the time that he might never walk again. During this time, inspired by his time teaching actors how to race, Bob started to think about opening a racing school for the public. The idea became reality around 1968 when Bob actually opened a racing school at what was then known as Orange County International Raceway here in Southern California. He originally approached Porsche to supply the cars, but they dismissed him. So Bob went to Datsun, who happily provided Datsun 240Zs and Datsun 510s. That must have been a fun time. Sometime around 1970, the school then moved to what was called Sears Point and is now called Sonoma Raceway. Porsche then came back to Bob and said, oh, you know, maybe we judge you too harshly. Here's some 911s and some Porsche 914s. In 1976, Ford jumped on board and signed an exclusive deal with Bob and provided cars for the school until 2003. During this period, the Bondurant School moved to Chandler, Arizona. I think it was about 1990. And it was humming along for years up until about 2018. It was actually the primary training school for Dodge SRT vehicles. In Bob's personal life, in 2010, he married Pat, a former Miss Alabama and a former NASA engineer. It turns out that she wasn't just a pretty face. She was said to be very business savvy, and 2 months later, she gained 51% control of the school with Bob's blessing, with Bob retaining 49% ownership, and Pat was named as CEO. And again, things were moving along pretty well. By 2018, things started to unravel for the school. In November of 2018, 22 of the 33 employees walked off the job alleging that they wouldn't want to work for Pat anymore because of the way they were being treated. Pat's biological son, Jason, was pretty much running the day-to-day operations by this time, but allegedly he was not happy with how Pat was handling the business either. There's a great article on The Drive that speaks of allegations about how employees were allegedly treated and questionable comments that were allegedly made by Pat and some wasteful spending. All that stuff is documented on The Drive. If you read it, it sounds like a Hollywood movie plot for real. Successful gentleman marries beautiful lady and drama ensues. And again, by late 2018, the school went into Chapter 11 bankruptcy and the school's assets were sold off by the family in October of 2018 for a paltry $1.6 million, which I would have thought that school would be worth $5 or $10 million. Not long after, in 2019, a company called Stig Investments bought the school and resurrected it. But in 2021, the name was suddenly changed to Radford Racing School, seemingly overnight, as Stig Investments took on some partners. Stig Investments still has an ownership stake, but is now supported and joined by a company owned partly by the Formula One driver Jenson Button and Ant Anstead under the name Finest Coach Building LLC, which is based in Costa Mesa. Now called the Radford School, it still lives in the same site where Bondurant Racing was over there in Chandler, Arizona. And family squabbles aside, Bob's legacy is undeniable. He said that his school has taught more than 500,000 racers over the years, along with an impressive list of celebrities including James Garner, Paul Newman, Robert Wagner, Clint Eastwood, Tim Allen, Tom Cruise, and even Nicolas Cage. In fact, I personally attended his school twice. Once way back in the day when they were using Mustangs and Taurus SHOs, and again when they had Corvettes and Cadillac CTSVs. These were experiences that I'll never forget and I very much enjoyed. During my tenure at NGK Sparkplugs, Eibach, and Magnaflow, I actually had the opportunity to work with Bob and even hang out with him at a few SEMA shows. I found him to be personable, professional, pleasant, and quite modest about his achievements, which apparently is uncommon for race drivers. Bob once said his life has been made up of two halves. The first half was becoming a world champion driver. The second half was teaching others to become world champions. He leaves behind an amazing legacy, including being inducted into no less than 10 different motorsports halls of fame. Bob was 88 years old. We're going to miss you, Bob. Rest in peace. That's it for this episode, everybody. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can receive notifications from new videos. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.